Will Driscoll arrived in Weatherfield at the beginning of November after his family took over the Rovers' return. From the outset, it was clear he wasn't happy about leaving his life in Hull behind. Having been away on a school trip when the move first happened, Will caused alarm when he failed to turn up at the new house, leaving his family frantic. He was eventually brought home by his athletics coach, Megan, where he made no secret of the fact that he didn't want to stay in Weatherfield. Will was so determined to return to Hull that his dad, Ben Driscoll, nearly agreed to let him spend weekdays living with a friend so he could continue at his old school and keep training with Megan. Eva Price and Maggie Driscoll were horrified by the idea and quickly stepped in. Together, they came up with what they believed was a sensible compromise. Maggie would pay Megan to travel to Manchester several times a week to train Will privately, allowing him to continue his athletics while staying somewhere the family could keep an eye on him. What they didn't realize was that this decision would prove disastrous. Viewers have since learned that Megan has been grooming Will. It later emerged that Will had repeatedly run back to Hull because he wanted to be with her, and Megan had told him she didn't want to pursue a long-distance arrangement. Fully supportive of Maggie's plan, Megan embedded herself even further into Will's life, with the situation escalating when she landed a job at his school. Will is now convinced that he and Megan are in love, and he has struggled with her insistence that they keep their relationship hidden. Megan, fully aware that her involvement with an underage boy is not only morally wrong but illegal, has attempted to deflect attention by entertaining the interest of Daniel Osborne, who is clearly smitten with her. Fans now believe they've worked out where this deeply troubling storyline may be heading, and the predictions are bleak. Some viewers have speculated that Megan could become pregnant, potentially using Daniel as a cover. One fan wrote online that a pregnancy involving Will would complicate everything, while another claimed they noticed Megan touching her stomach in the Rovers, suggesting the show might already be planting subtle clues. Others disagree, predicting that if a pregnancy does happen, Megan will claim the baby is Daniel's. In upcoming scenes, Will's family prepare a surprise party for his 16th birthday, completely unaware that he has made very different plans. After slipping Megan a hotel room key, Will meets her at the Chariot Square Hotel, where the afternoon quickly escalates and the pair end up in bed. Back at home, Maggie grows anxious when Will doesn't answer his phone. Concern turns to panic when Steve McDonald mentions he saw Will entering the hotel earlier that day. At the hotel, Will and Megan's secret is almost exposed when loud banging on the door brings their encounter to a sudden halt. Their horror deepens when they realize it's Ben standing outside. Whether they are caught in the moment remains to be seen, but the tension is set to explode. With speculation intensifying, many viewers are asking whether a pregnancy could be the twist that finally exposes Megan as a predator. Would she lie and claim the baby is Daniel's if it were Will's? Or are fans reading too much into the clues? One person who does know where the story is heading is actress Beth Nixon, who has spoken candidly about taking on such a dark role. She explained that accepting the part required serious thought, describing the storyline as challenging but compelling. For her, the complexity of the character and the real-world relevance of the issue made it a powerful, if uncomfortable, story to tell. The question now is no longer if Megan will be exposed, but how, and how much damage will be done before the truth finally comes out. Emmerdale hints at Vinnie Dingle's growing romantic feelings as jealousy sets in, and Cammy starts to notice. Emmerdale appears to be teasing a possible romantic twist for Vinnie Dingle as a flash of jealousy over housemate Lewis Barton begins to expose emotions he may not yet be ready to admit. Earlier this year, Vinnie struggled with doubts about his sexuality, a vulnerable period that tragically led to him being targeted in a cruel scam by a man named Mike. In the aftermath, Vinnie chose to go ahead with his wedding to Gabby Thomas, hoping for stability and clarity. However, the marriage was short-lived, with Gabby ultimately ending things just weeks after they tied the knot. Since then, Vinnie has been living with Lewis Barton, and viewers have increasingly picked up on subtle signs that their connection could be more than just friendship. In tonight's scenes, Vinny's best friend Cammy Haddock noticed a tender moment between the pair at the cafe. As Lewis spoke warmly about how special this Christmas would be, spending it with both his adoptive and biological families, Vinny couldn't hide his smile. Sensing something deeper, Cammy later put Vinny on the spot. "Vin, do you fancy him?" he asked. Vinny was quick to shut the idea down, replying, "Don't be daft. No." But events later that evening suggested otherwise. At the Woolpack, Lewis excused himself ahead of Jason Donovan's concert, explaining he had a date with someone named Tony. Vinny was visibly unsettled, pressing Cammy for details about Lewis's mystery date. Cammy admitted he had no idea, leaving Vinny clearly rattled and confused, much like viewers watching at home. The actors behind the characters, Bradley Johnson, Vinny, and Bradley Riches, Lewis, recently spoke to Digital Spy about the bond between their on-screen counterparts. Johnson described the pairing as two geeky, lovable characters who support and understand one another, calling their dynamic refreshing and heartfelt. Meanwhile, Riches hinted that there could be more to come. He explained that it's meaningful to see someone who is unsure of themselves being accepted by someone confident in who they are. While he stressed that the connection currently sits firmly in friendship territory, he also noted that strong relationships often grow from exactly that foundation. For now, Emmerdale is letting the story unfold gently, but with Vinny's jealousy creeping in and Cammy clearly paying attention, it seems only a matter of time before Vinny is forced to confront what he's really feeling. Rona Goskirk believed she might finally be able to reach the cold-hearted Celia Daniels in Friday's episode of Emmerdale, but her attempt to intervene backfired in the worst possible way. While her confrontation failed to protect April, it did offer a disturbing glimpse into Celia's past, one that hints at deep-rooted trauma, and may explain how she became the ruthless figure she is today. Ever since April Windsor revealed to her family that she had been dragged into Celia and Ray's drug operation, her parents, Marlon and Rona, have been desperately searching for a way out. Their attempt to flee the village was swiftly crushed when Ray tracked them down and delivered a chilling warning, making it clear he had constant surveillance on them. Even after scraping together a large sum of money through a payday loan with extortionate interest, their situation didn't improve. Ray took the cash and coldly informed them that nothing had changed. There was, however, a glimmer of hope when they learned that Dylan would survive the injuries he sustained after Ray deliberately ran him down as a warning. In fact, doctors confirmed he was doing so well that they planned to bring him out of his induced coma. But that news quickly turned sour when it became clear Celia had also found out. Spotting Celia in the Woolpack, a desperate Rona made a last-ditch plea, offering to take April's place in the drug deliveries. Celia briefly entertained the idea before dismissing Rona outright, sneering that she'd panic at the first sign of danger. Furious, Rona demanded to know how Celia could live with herself. Celia's response was chilling. "I don't," she said coldly, "and neither will April." She went on to reveal that everything happening to April had once happened to her. She even mentioned having her own Dylan, allowing the faintest trace of a smile to flicker across her face before shutting it down entirely, adding that he was long gone. The moment suggested a pivotal point in Celia's life, perhaps the moment she stopped being a victim and became the hardened, emotionless predator she is now. "Look how I turned out," Celia said darkly. "It's always better to be the hammer than the anvil." Her attention then shifted to Dylan's recovery. Issuing a thinly veiled threat, Celia warned that wherever April goes, bodies seem to be left behind, and Dylan could easily be next. Unable to stop herself, Rona shot back that Dylan would wake up and go straight to the police. That, Celia calmly told her, was a mistake. Rona returned home shaken, telling Marlon that she feared she had only made things worse, and that she was now convinced Celia might kill Dylan to silence him. Realizing the danger therein, the couple agree that Dylan can no longer be left alone for a second. Someone will have to stay with him around the clock to keep him safe, because the nightmare is far from over. Two major villains are set to return to Emmerdale before the end of 2025, and Warford won't be ready. Emmerdale is lining up the return of two dangerous figures before 2025 draws to a close, and while John Sugden and Kev Townsend may not know each other, they are deeply connected through their explosive history with Aaron Dingle and Robert Sugden. John vanished last autumn after his crimes were finally exposed to the entire village. In September, a violent confrontation in the woods saw him throw both himself and Aaron into a gorge. Although both survived and were rushed to hospital, John regained consciousness first, giving him time to frame Robert for the incident and have him arrested. Once Aaron woke from his coma, the truth began to unravel. He told Chas Dingle that John had been holding Mackenzie Boyd hostage, was responsible for Nate Robinson's death, and had orchestrated multiple deadly events across the village. Before John could disappear for good, he was confronted by a grief-stricken Kane Dingle, desperate for revenge over his son's murder. But the unhinged medic stayed one step ahead, manipulating the situation so Kane didn't meet the same fate as Anthony Fox. John then issued a chilling ultimatum to Kane and Caleb Milligan: let him escape, or he would ensure the police discovered that Ruby Milligan had killed her father. While Kane dismissed it as an empty threat, Caleb refused to take the risk. He helped John flee the country and later told the family that the killer was on the run in Rotterdam. That appeared to be the end of John's story, but fans are no longer convinced. Eagle-eyed viewers recently spotted John's image appearing in an episode of Coronation Street, fueling speculation that his final chapter could play out in a dramatic crossover. Adding to the theory, a new promotional image released on ITVX for Emmerdale features Robert, Aaron, John, and Kev together, the kind of update typically released ahead of a major storyline. The intrigue deepened when Kev actor Chris Coggill shared the image on Instagram, cryptically writing, "What could it all mean?" Fans quickly flooded the comments, convinced it was a hint that Kev's return is imminent. Further evidence has emerged with early cast lists for the January 2nd episode reportedly including both John and Kev. In the run-up to Christmas, Robert and Aaron find themselves targeted by a series of disturbing incidents. Suspicion initially falls on Ross Barton after trees outside Aaron's flat are set ablaze, especially given his recent clash with the couple over Seb. However, Ross soon provides a solid alibi, forcing Aaron and Robert to confront a far more frightening possibility. Someone else is deliberately terrorizing them. Actor Danny Miller has hinted that while Aaron assumes Ross at first, he doesn't believe John is behind it, instead suspecting Kev. But as Robert pieces the clues together, he realizes the truth is far more terrifying than they imagined. On Christmas Day, as villagers gather outside the pub enjoying mulled wine, one person is noticeably absent. Robert has rushed off on a mysterious errand and never returns. As time passes, Aaron and Victoria grow increasingly worried. Has Robert been captured, and if so, by whom? John, Kev, or both? Kev, Robert's former prison husband, left the village recently after realizing he could never truly be with the man he loved. Struggling to control his emotions, Kev previously held Robert, Aaron, Liam, Kavanagh, and Johnny hostage at sword point, leaving Robert injured before managing to evade arrest yet again. He fled the village, convinced it was only a matter of time before the police caught up with him. But with John having remained on the run for so long, questions remain. Can the police really track down two dangerous men with unfinished business? Or will John and Kev wreak even more havoc before justice finally catches up with them? One thing is clear: Emmerdale is heading toward a dark and explosive reckoning, and Aaron and Robert may be right at the heart of it.